Welcome back to the investment challenge. Today we have a short Q&A session. Why short? Because we only have one question, but of course in the future these videos will be longer. Just when I release new videos, drop your comments, drop your questions in the comments, and I will make a video just like this to maybe explain some concepts more detailed, or anything you would like to have an answer. Yes. So, this was from Tanigai Well. Thanks for your question. I would like to know further, how can I interpret the GDP as in growth phase or contracting phase? Yeah, let's just start with this. It's very easy, and this question was regarding my last video. Let's just look at that. So we are here on the trading economics side. It's completely free, tradingeconomics.com. And then we just can go to United States. And then we can just pick GDP growth rate. And basically now we know that the GDP of the US, of the United States, is growing because it's 2.6%. But of course, you can change the time horizon here. And every time this blue line is above the 0% line, it's growing. And if it's below, it's contracting. So that's not rocket science, I guess. And now we can click on compare and can look up the United States, and then we can look at GPT per capita. That's just basically the whole number, let's say. And yeah, that's also pretty easy. If you can here see a rising line, then it's growing. So you see the last reading in comparison to the reading before, GDP was growing. So now we know how you can look up if the GDP is growing or not. But let's say some words to that. That's not the most important thing. It is more important to know what the GDP in the next 6 months is going to look like. Is it growing or is it contracting? And for that, I already made 3 videos about leading indicators. It's the video about the ISM PMI, the ISM non-manufacturing PMI, and the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index, or short UMCSI. They are already on my channel. Just look them up. And with that video, or with that little series, you should be able to predict what the GDP is doing. And of course, when your conclusion is it's growing, then you should look for cyclical stocks. When your conclusion is the GDP will be contracting in 3 to 6 months, then of course you should focus more on the defensive ones. So, do we have any other than these 2 phases, so contraction or growth? Basically not. What's not growing is contracting, but you can also split the growing phase or the growth phase into early growth. I don't know what the stages after that are called, but in my experience, that's not so important. It's more important to predict how much the GDP will be growing. It is will it be more like 1% or more like 5%? That's a huge difference when you want to determine how much of your portfolio do you want to invest in stocks that are going that you trade to the upside. So that's more important. It's not so important how we call these phases. It's just important to know it's growth or contraction, and then by how much. So how the stocks would perform during this phase. Yeah, as I said, when there is contraction, then defensives tend to perform much better, or at least stay flat. And in the growth phase, you should always look for cyclical stocks. We can just look at it again. Where it is, there it is. So this was the example on my last video. but we can use other examples. Now I will just hold this video for 1 second. So here we are back again. So I just used some different examples for this video. Let's just turn them off for a second. So now we have just a normal S&P 500. And as you can see, it's performing well. But when I now turn on the defensive sector, and let's just use the last 5 years, you can clearly see that when there's growth, it's just underperforming. That's not the best example because it it also declined a lot during this last contraction. But that's just because this is a real estate sector. They have now, because of the rising rates, other problems. But now when I turn on the cyclical ETF, the SOXX, that's an semiconductor ETF, then you will see what I mean. This is now the green line. You see it's just outperforming the market, extremely well in the growth phase, but it's also sharply correcting when the market is correcting to the downside. So I should I think it should be a lot clearer right now, this concept. If not, just leave a new comment. And yeah, see you soon.